Hi, everyone. It's Mr. Kennard again. We are on Waves 4.3, Investigation 4, Section 3, on sending images. And what you learned in the previous lesson, 4.2, about sending sound and stuff, this builds on those same principles. So keep working through this video, and we will talk about how we send images. Before we start talking about how we review or how we send images, we want to do a little bit of a review about radio waves. Specifically, the question asks, what type of information can be sent by radio waves? Well, what you found from radio waves is pretty much anything. If you recall from the radio waves, you talked about AM signals, the amplitude modulation, the FM signals, the frequency modulation, where you can send them either analog or digital. The way we send that sound, all those things from with the radio waves, you can send them, you encode all of the information or modulate it and put that on the carrier wave, and then that gets sent and decoded or demodulated by whatever the device is, and then you get to play that. But overall, what else can we send? What kind of information can be sent with radio waves? Well, pretty much anything you want. Everything from sound, like radio or something with speaking and stuff like that, music, any of that kind of stuff. You can send video on radio waves. In fact, those are the first waves that they're able to, when they were to the astronauts out in outer space. That's the only way they could get it back to Earth was by radio waves. And that's how we're able to see information from satellites. It's by radio waves and what the information they put on there. So video, modern world, internet, cell phones, all that kinds of stuff, all of that information can be sent with radio waves, pretty much anything. And that includes images, and that's the focus of what we're going to look at today. The focus question for today is to take those images. How are images sent through radio waves? How do we send the actual images? Well, it's kind of very similar to what we do with our sound waves too. We have to encode them to be able to then send them, and then we need something to decode them. We're going to go over what that looks like specifically with those images. The big thing is now would be a good time to download the guided notes. So get that done for me, please. All right. Once you've got that down, you should be able to answer the first question already, the true or false question on those guided notes. But as we move into how we send images, like we said, we have to encode the material. We have to encode it to put it in a form that can be sent. And what that is called digitizing. Instead of analog video or analog pictures and images like you'd take from an actual camera with film, most of all of our stuff is digitized on our smartphones, on our televisions, on our internet, on our streaming. All of that is digitized. And what that means is it's in a form that we can send, that the computer can send and receive, and then translate it back into a visual image again. And so images have to be digitized first. So instead of one complete pic, it's actually done through many small pictures called pixels. Now, I know you've heard of pixels. In your cameras on your phones, it's how many pixels there should be, or you've got it on your television at home of how many pixels of this and that. They are small pieces of that picture, and we have to send them that way so that we can get all of the information sent. We just can't send a photograph like you would through the mail or something like that. You have to digitize those images. And because they're small pictures, the more of them, the better the picture will result being. So we have to take these large pictures, or anything. It really doesn't have to be a picture. It can be an image, could be any kind of graphic on a website or something you send to your friends, TikTok videos, whatever. Each one of those starts out, we have to break it down into its small little pieces, those pixels. They encode them, and then we send that. What I've got for you to do next is, if you would, listen to the instructions. You're going to go to fossweb.com, and there's a series of 10 pictures that start out as a very small number of picture elements, those pixels, like what you see on the screen now. There's actually 4 individual pixels on these 2 much larger pictures. Now, from those, you can't really see what it looks like. But as you add more pieces to it, as you add more small pictures to it, the image becomes bigger, becomes more clear, and becomes easier to see. So go to fosweb.com, log into the Waves section, the Waves unit, find multimedia. It's like the first thing that pops up, and about the second thing down is a digitized images. Find digitized images, the online activity. What you're gonna do is when you add more of those pixels, the big picture becomes more clear. So go through each of the ones found in that multimedia section. It will have 10 images, and they are found in the FOSS-Web, and you'll see as the pictures morph to clearer and clearer as you add more pixels to them. So when you're done, as you go through, it's kind of like guessing what it's gonna be as it becomes a full one. But as you do, complete each one of those 10 to write down what the actual image was. And what it starts with is not always the same as what it ends with. So go do that now. Hopefully you enjoyed all of those images. They start out much different than what they ended up with. Some of them start out as just completely white and ended up with an ice cream cone, or some of them were completely dark and ended up with the fireworks. I always like those kind of like when you're zoomed in on a picture and you pull back from it to see exactly what it is, like the skin of an elephant or a part of a needle or something like that. Those are always cool to see. Well, the same thing here. The more pixels we add, the clearer that picture comes. And we have a name for that. This is when a digital image increases in resolution. And resolution is the key word there. What resolution means is basically you're improving the picture and the quality of the picture. So when a digital image increases in resolution, how does it affect its appearance? It gets clearer and more precise. So better resolution, a higher resolution, some of you talk about that with your television stuff, a high-res television or high-res this, but you're making it more and more clearer, more and more lifelike. We got we found a 4K resolution, and it freaked us out the first times watching it because it was just like, it wasn't like the other TVs we'd had before. And it just like came out of the wall. It was like surreal, just weird. But that was a high resolution screen, and therefore it produces a much clearer, much more lifelike picture. Number two, well, what do you have to do to a digital image to get it to look like an analog image, like a photograph taken with film? Again, you're adding more pixels. More pixels, not that. But the more the pixels, the higher the resolution. The higher the resolution, the better quality of the overall picture. On the guided notes, you should be already through number 6. So we're going to jump into this next section of the guided notes, which is the digital communications reading on the student resource guide there in FOSS-Web. Again, you're going to jump back into the FOSS-Web, look for the media library section and the PDF version, and you're going to go to the Waves, and you're going to find page 63. This one is going to talk about digital communication. And again, you should be able to, I think you can have it read to you, or either way, but it will take you through and look at those, and you can complete then the rest of the questions on the guided notes when you're done with that. All right, so jump over to the book, read over the digital communication, and find the missing questions that we have you. Thank you. As you saw from your reading, it went over a couple of things. For those of you that have had comp and careers, this is one of those topics that you guys were covering. The binary counting, the binary language that computers use. It's a series of ones and zeros. And everything on your computer can be broken down into its codes of ones and zeros. And how that computer reads those two codes of either one and zeros produces the images, produces words, produces motion, produces all sorts of stuff. So it's amazing how you can boil it all down to its binary code on a computer screen. For a pixel, again, that's the small pictures that we use to build the bigger pictures. So more pixels makes a better picture. but they're the small picture parts to it. And then resolution is the picture quality that goes along with it. A better resolution, a higher resolution, more pixels makes a better picture quality. And if you've got a high resolution TV at home, you know what I mean. So check those things out. All right. So going back to our focus question again, how are images sent through radio waves? Again, we have to encode them, encode the information, and then decode the information. It's the same thing we did with our AM and FM and shortwave and all those other kinds of things. We encode the information first. Binary is primarily the way that it is done, with ones and zeros. And then that information is sent and carried on that carrier wave through to the whatever you're sending it to, and its address or whatever it is, those things, and then decoded again to be able to then put into your pixels, the pixels involved in that. And the more pixels create a better resolution, and those images become clearer and more pronounced. The last thing I'd like you to do is, there is a great informational part here in the book, The FOSS Science Resources, about telecommunication from telegraphs to smartphones. You guys may not know this, but you've grown up in an age where cell phones are common and computers are common and the internet is common. But old dinosaurs like Mr. Kennard, we started out with rotary telephones and film strips and tape players and cassette tapes and all that stuff, records, vinyl records and stuff, all those kinds of ways. We had to find a payphone if we needed to call mom and dad. We didn't have text messages. I know, it's crazy. But read over this little part here. It really is amazing how far we've come in the last 50 years, even since Kennard was born, to where we are now with what we can do with a smartphone and technology and stuff. So take a few minutes, go back to the FOSS Science Resources at fossweb.com, find page 69 in the books, and read over the telecommunication from telegraph to smartphone, please. And that's going to do it for this lesson on 4.3 about sending images. Please look over the other stuff on lessons 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3 about everything that we've covered so far, because we've got our exam coming up, and that will wrap up our waves for this unit. Thanks again, everybody.